In the summer of 1983, a man arrives to a countryside home in northern Italy, where he's going to stay for the next couple of weeks in order to finish his book. He's a rather tall man, lean, and very handsome with blonde hair and bright blue eyes. As he enters the house, a 17-year-old boy watches him from his bedroom window. The man is Oliver, a 24-year-old Jewish-American undergraduate student that was invited by his professor of archaeology, Mr. Perlman, to spend some time at this family home to finish writing his book and to help with Mr. Perlman's academic work. Mr. Perlman has a son, Elio, who had to give up his bedroom to this newcomer, and he's so happy about it that he sarcastically calls Oliver the usurper. Elio is a lanky, introspective boy who enjoys reading books, transcribing songs, and hanging out with his friends in his spare time. He knew his father invited a student of his to come to his house, and at first he's mildly annoyed that he has to move bedrooms. But as he gets to know Oliver, his annoyance gets worse. Oliver has a bigger-than-life personality. He's not afraid of speaking his mind, even correcting Elio's father, a professor, about the origins of the word apricot and doing whatever he wants to. The first night he spends in Elio's home, when it's time for dinner, he refuses to attend because he's too tired and just wants to sleep. Next day, during breakfast, he eats as if he's a man starving, while Elio and his family are used to taking their time to enjoy the food. Even when he drinks, he doesn't take time to appreciate it, he just downs the juice in one gulp. All those little flaws on his behavior bother Elio. Elio offers to take Oliver around town. There isn't much to do there, as Elio explains to Oliver, but the man doesn't seem to care. He leaves Elio behind when he's showing him around and goes his own way, which confuses Elio a lot. Then, the boy discovers that on his first day, Oliver made some friendships with the locals and even found a bar to hang out with his new friends. When Elio asks Oliver how he discovered that place, Oliver ignores him. Next day, Elio invites some of his friends to spend some time at his place. Oliver gets along well with the teenagers, and as Elio observes him, he watches him hugging one of his girlfriends, Chiara, inappropriately. He gets along so well with his friends that it's as if he has always been there. Elio doesn't play, he just observes. Oliver notices him and approaches him with the excuse of drinking some water. He realizes that Elio is rather introspective and doesn't mingle a lot with the other kids, so he tells him to relax and touches his shoulders. Elio is shirtless and sweating, not that Oliver minds. He feels a knot on Elio's shoulder and starts to give him a massage. Elio doesn't feel comfortable by the sudden closeness and Oliver catches it. He calls one of Elio's friends, Marzia, to continue the massage, and she's all too happy to comply, because she has a crush on him. Now, though, Elio is mad at Oliver's behavior and leaves Marzia hanging. The man's weird behavior gets under Elio's skin. He thinks he's rude, arrogant, and flamboyant. The main issue for Elio, though, is that he can't take his eyes off Oliver. He watches and observes him anytime he can, probably trying to understand what's up with him and why he's feeling the way he is. In the evening, Elio and his family are having dinner and waiting for Oliver. He never shows up, and he didn't tell them he wouldn't come. Elio asks his parents if they don't think Oliver is arrogant and impolite. His mother agrees. She also seems a bit annoyed by the American's presence in her home, but his father thinks he's only shy. Still, Elio's mad that Oliver didn't show up for dinner and made everyone wait for him. After dinner, Elio has to spend time with his relatives. He's bored to death and still a bit angry that Oliver didn't show up. His father asks him to play something for them, and begrudgingly, he starts playing the piano. Oliver doesn't come back that day, and Elio is so disturbed that he can't sleep well. Nothing seems to appease him for some reason. The following morning, Elio hears Oliver arrive home late in the morning. He has no idea where Oliver spent the night, and the thought nags at him. Moments later, Oliver abruptly enters Elio's room, without knocking, and invites him to go swimming with him at the lake. As he goes to change clothes, Elio accidentally catches Oliver butt naked, and instead of looking the other way, he stares. Oliver doesn't notice anything. The whole day, Elio's annoyed and it shows. Oliver tries interacting with him, but only receives curt answers. Later that day, Elio's playing a box song on the guitar and Oliver's listening while pretending to be asleep. When Elio stops playing, Oliver asks him to play it again. But instead of playing on the guitar, Elio invites Oliver to listen to him play on the piano. As he plays the song in different variations, Oliver stops to listen and talks to Elio about music, which is one of his passions. That small gesture makes Elio question if he judged Oliver too harshly, because he initially thought Oliver didn't like him. They get a bit closer as the days pass, with Oliver even asking Elio for advice in a chapter in his book. Elio's very smart and gives him some advice, and Oliver tells him that's the kindest thing someone said to him in months. Elio is getting more infatuated with Oliver by the day, while the man doesn't notice it. In fact, when they are out dancing, Oliver dances and makes out with one of Elio's friends in front of him, so Elio's infatuation is probably one-sided. His friend, Marzia, notices Elio's interest, but when she questions him, he denies it. That night, after a couple of drinks, Elio almost gets intimate with Marzia, which he tells his father and Oliver the next day. His father asks why he didn't do it and Elio answers that he doesn't know. Oliver says that it's better to have tried and failed than not try at all. Elio replies that all he needed to do was reach out and touch, since Marzia was into it. Oliver tells him to try again later, which surprises Elio. His father interrupts the conversation by telling them that there was a big discovery in another town and invites Oliver to come along to see it. Elio doesn't want to stay away from Oliver, so he asks to come with. Chiara, the girl Oliver made up with the night before, appears at Elio's place to talk to Oliver. They seem pretty close and chummy, and Elio observes. When she leaves, he tells Oliver that Chiara is a beautiful girl and she has a great body. Oliver asks if Elio is trying to make him like Chiara, to which Elio replies that there is no harm in that. Oliver doesn't like this, though, and tells Elio he prefers to do it on his own and to not play at being a good host. Elio doesn't understand why Oliver is so pissed, but he stays quiet. During the trip, Elio tries to get a truce with Oliver, and he accepts. They get closer and bond, which is exactly what Elio wanted. After the trip, things between them escalate. Elio is so over the edge when they arrive back at his home, that he runs to find Marzia, and to maybe get intimate with her. Marzia is not there though, so Elio doesn't get any relief. Next day, Oliver disappears again, and Elio is alone at home. He tries to play the piano and read to pass the time, but nothing works. He goes to Oliver's room and sniffs his shorts while imagining them getting intimate. He stops when he hears Oliver's voice and runs back to his room. Elio's parents notice his infatuation with Oliver. His mother reads a poem to Elio and his father about a knight who is madly in love with the princess, and she's in love with him, though she doesn't realize it. The knight and the princess are good friends, and for that reason the knight is afraid of confessing his feelings. One day, though, the knight asks is it better to speak or to die. His mother looks at Elio when she reads the question and Elio says that he will never have the courage to ask that kind of question. His father doubts it and tells Elio that he can always talk to them if he needs to. The poem resonates with Elio. He sees himself in a similar situation with Oliver, caught in the middle of friendship and love, and wonders if he should confess. When he's with Oliver the next day, he tells him the story, but Oliver already knows it. He asks Elio what the princess answered, and Elio answers that it's better to speak, but the princess was on her guard, and she sensed a trap somewhere. Oliver seems bothered, but asks if the knight speaks his feelings, and Elio says no. They go on a trip to town together, and for some reason, Elio decides to confess his feelings for Oliver, though not directly. Oliver understands what he meant and asks why he's telling him that. Elio replies that he wanted Oliver to know about his feelings, regardless of his opinion. Oliver tells Elio that it's better if they don't talk about it and to pretend he never said anything. The man is over the fence and it's hard to guess whether he also has feelings for Elio or if he's just playing with him. But at the same time, he doesn't look completely immune to Elio's feelings. After his confession, when they are at a solitary spot by the lake, he's the one to kiss Elio for the first time. But when Elio tries to get more intimate with him, he stops him by saying he wants to do the right thing, and sleeping with Elio is not it. He's in a conundrum, thinking that what he's doing is wrong and that Elio is too naive and doesn't understand the consequences of what he wants to do. Still, despite trying to look unaffected, Oliver gets worried about Elio when he gets a nosebleed and even massages Elio's foot to try and help. Elio's mother notices that her son is deep in his feelings, and tells him that Oliver likes him too, maybe even more than Elio does. When Elio asks her how she knows, she tells him that Oliver told her. Elio is hopeful that they may have some kind of summer fling, so when Oliver starts to ignore him, he feels betrayed. What's worse is that one day, Oliver disappears without telling anyone where he is going to, and only comes back late at night. He's dressed up, so Elio suspects he was with Chiara, while Elio was worried sick about him. Next day, as payback for Oliver betraying him, he goes out with Marzia, and they get intimate for the first time. Despite his desire to forget about Oliver, Elio can't, and he's pissed that Oliver is suddenly ignoring him. He decides to write a note to Oliver asking him to stop ignoring him, to which Oliver replies that Elio needs to grow up, but he'll see him at midnight. Elio gets excited and can't wait for the time to pass. Marzia comes to his place and they get intimate again, a way for Elio to pass the time and also take the edge off before he sleeps with Oliver. When the time finally comes, Elio is nervous, but Oliver takes his time to relax him. They get intimate for the first time, and it's amazing, all that Elio dreamed of. After, Oliver tells Elio, "Call me by my name and I'll call you by mine," and they whisper the other's name in the silence of the bedroom. In the following morning, Elio starts acting strange, which worries Oliver. He's aloof and quiet. Confused, Oliver wonders if Elio just wanted to get intimate with him, and if he doesn't want anything to do with him anymore, now that he did. Later, Oliver goes into town and Elio goes after him. There, Elio confesses he just wants to spend more time with Oliver, and Oliver tells him he's afraid that Elio is going to regret what they did. After all, he's still young and figuring life out. Later that day, Elio is eating a peach and starts to get aroused. He pleasures himself with the peach and leaves it on his bedside. When Oliver finds him, he gets intimate with him and tastes the peach on his skin. He sees the peach on the bedside and chuckles, asking Elio if he has moved on already. Elio is embarrassed, especially when Oliver tries to eat the peach. Then, Elio bursts into tears because Oliver is leaving and he doesn't want him to go. Elio asks Oliver why he didn't give him a sign before, so that they didn't waste so much time, to which Oliver confesses that he did. When they were playing volleyball, he massaged Elio's shoulders. The way Elio reacted, though, prevented Oliver from showing his feelings again, because he felt as if he was taking advantage of him. He also tells Elio that he spent his nights in an isolated place in the woods, not with Chiara, as Elio imagined. Moving on, it's the day Oliver is leaving, but before he travels back to the US, he's going to another city in Italy. Elio wakes up to find one of Oliver's shirts with a note for him, which makes him happy. When he goes to the lake, Marzia appears and asks him why he disappeared. Elio acts cold and distant with her, so she leaves, feeling used by him. Elio doesn't really care about her feelings, though. He's way too happy and in love with Oliver for that. Elio's mother tells his father that maybe it would be a good idea for Elio to go with Oliver to Bergamo, and he accepts. Elio and Oliver are drunk in love. They have a great time together, going sightseeing and hiking. At night, they get drunk and fool around in the city until Oliver hears the song, Love My Way, which he loves, and runs towards it. Two men and a girl are listening to it in their car, and Oliver invites the girl to dance with him while Elio watches. Elio is completely drunk and vomits. Oliver carries him back to the hotel, finding the whole situation funny. The following morning, Oliver wakes up before Elio and stares at him as he sleeps with a deep sadness. He doesn't want to leave Elio, not after the great days they spent together. Unfortunately, it's not meant to be, and he has to leave. Later that day, at the train station, they say goodbye to each other. Elio is so sad that he calls home and asks his mother to come get him, in tears. Elio cries the whole way home while his mother tries to comfort him. His mother stops to go shopping for a bit, and as Elio is alone in the car, Marzia sees him and approaches him. She tells him that she's not mad with him and that she loves him. They promise to be friends for life and hug. Back at home, Elio is deeply sad and can't forget Oliver or the time they spent together. His father notices and talks to him. He says that what he and Oliver had was beautiful, and that they were good together. He also says he is there for Elio, that he's not the kind of parent that hopes the feelings his son has for another man will go away, and advises Elio to feel what he's feeling instead of trying to move on to another person. Then he confesses that he also came close to having a relationship, similar to Elio and Oliver's, but something always held him back. He tells Elio that they have one opportunity to enjoy their bodies before time passes, since it's harder to find someone interested in you when you're older. When Elio asks his father if his mom knows about he says he doesn't think so. Now it's a secret shared with Elio, something they can bond over. Months go by, and winter arrives. It's Hanukkah, which Elio's family celebrates, and he's excited about it. It seems his sadness after Oliver's departure has passed. There's even another student coming to stay with them again. Though this time, it's a woman. The phone rings and Elio answers it. It's Oliver. They make some small talk. Elio tells him he misses him and Oliver says he misses him too. Then, Oliver tells Elio he has some news for him, and Elio jokingly says that he's probably getting married. Oliver is, in fact, getting married to a woman he has had an on and off relationship for the past 3 years. Elio swallows his tears and tells him that's wonderful news. Then his parents interrupt the conversation to talk a bit with Oliver. They are surprised by the news, and they know it's going to be hard for Elio, but they are happy for Oliver anyway. Elio tells Oliver his parents know about their relationship, and Oliver says he figured they did, because of the way Elio's father made him feel as if he was his son-in-law. Then he says that Elio is lucky his parents are so open about his because his father would probably send him to a correctional facility. Elio whispers his name to Oliver and he whispers his name to Elio. He says he remembers everything, which makes Elio happy. After the call, Elio stares at the fire with tears in his eyes. As he cries, he remembers everything that happened between him and Oliver, the good and the bad. Elio continues looking at the flame, thinking about the love he still has for Oliver.